Listen to me. Sometimes you got to breathe. Just breathe. Because there are seasons in life when you've done everything you can. You've prayed, you've cried, you've fought, you've pushed, and you're still standing in the same storm wondering, when is it going to change? But I came to tell you, the moment you stop trying to control everything, the moment you loosen your grip on what's breaking your heart, that's when you'll start to see what God was doing behind the scenes all along. Some of you are fighting battles that were never yours to fight. You're trying to carry weights that were never yours to carry. You've been trying to fix people you were never called to fix. And that's why you're tired. That's why your peace is slipping. That's why your faith feels heavy, because you're trying to do God's job while ignoring your own peace. But hear me, God doesn't need your panic. He needs your trust. He doesn't need your sleepless nights. He needs your surrender. Because when you relax in his hands, you're not giving up. You're giving into a power greater than your understanding. Sometimes the miracle doesn't start when you fight harder. It starts when you let go. It starts when you whisper, God, I can't handle this anymore, but I know you can. So if you're standing in the middle of uncertainty right now, if your life feels like it's spinning out of control, I want you to remember this one truth. You don't have to be in control when God already is. So today, stop fighting the storm and start trusting the one who commands it. Stop trying to open doors that only God can unlock. Relax your mind. Rest your heart. Because while you're worrying, God is working. While you're doubting, God is doing. And while you're stressing, God is shifting things in your favor. You see, peace is not found when the storm ends. Peace is found when you learn to rest, even while it's still raining. And the moment you stop saying, how will I fix this? And start saying, God, I trust you with this. That's when things begin to move. So I dare you today, relax. Not because everything is perfect, not because everything is clear, because the same God who brought you through the last storm hasn't changed. The same God who opened doors before hasn't retired. The same God who turned your mess into a message is still working behind the scenes, handling what you can't. Stop fighting battles that aren't yours. There comes a moment in every person's life when the weight becomes too heavy, not because the problem is too big, because the problem was never for your shoulders. Some of you have been wrestling with situations that God never asked you to fix. You've been fighting to change people who don't want to change, trying to make sense of things that were never meant for your understanding, and holding on to the burdens that were never assigned to your destiny. You've been trying to play God in places where you were only meant to trust him. You keep swinging your sword in battles that belong to his hands. And the more you fight, the more tired you get, because you're trying to win a war that was never yours to begin with. Sometimes the exhaustion you feel is not from the fight itself, from fighting what isn't yours. You see, there's a difference between being strong and being stubborn. Strength says, I'll stand where God places me. Stubbornness says, I'll fight even when God told me to let go. And many of us confuse the two. We call it faith. It's really fear disguised as control. We think that if we don't keep holding on, everything will fall apart. Maybe the reason it's falling apart is because you won't let go. Maybe peace hasn't come because you keep stepping into God's role, trying to manage what only he can mend. You're fighting for people who walked away, chasing relationships that God already ended, trying to reopen doors that were divinely closed. You're fighting to be understood by people who were never meant to see your worth. You're defending yourself in battles where God already declared your innocence. And while you're busy explaining, fixing, defending, and controlling, you're missing the quiet voice whispering, this one is not yours. Not every conflict deserves your energy. Not every storm requires your hands. Sometimes the greatest sign of spiritual maturity is the ability to say, I'll step back and let God step in. Because the truth is, when the battle belongs to God, your strength becomes a distraction. Your effort becomes interference. He can't move when you're in the way. You're praying for him to handle it, but you're still trying to direct him. You say, God, I trust you, but you keep sending reminders like he's forgotten the timeline. You cry, Lord, take it, but then you check in every few hours to see if he's working on it yet.
That's not faith.
Faith doesn't keep watch over what it gives away. Faith says, even when I don't see movement, I believe something is shifting. Stop fighting battles that steal your peace. Stop engaging in arguments that drain your spirit. Stop trying to prove yourself to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. Every time you step into a fight that God didn't assign you, you delay your own growth. You lose focus on your purpose. The enemy doesn't always come to destroy you through disaster. Sometimes he comes disguised as distraction. He wants you to be so busy defending yourself that you stop hearing God's direction. He wants you so preoccupied with fixing others that you forget to heal yourself. When David faced Goliath, he didn't wear Saul's armor. He knew that what worked for someone else would weigh him down. In the same way, when you fight battles that aren't yours, you're wearing armor that doesn't fit your calling. It's heavy, it's uncomfortable, and it slows your progress. You're not losing because you're weak. You're losing because you're fighting on the wrong field. Some wars require silence, not strength. Some seasons require surrender, not struggle. You've got to reach a place in your soul where you can say, this is not my fight. You've got to trust that God knows how to defend you better than you can defend yourself. He knows how to close mouths without your words. He knows how to expose lies without your effort. He knows how to restore what was taken without your chase. You don't have to manipulate outcomes when the outcome is already written. You don't have to beg for favor when favor has already been promised. Let me tell you something. God never loses a battle he fights. If it's still heavy, it's because you're still holding it. If it's still breaking you, it's because you haven't fully released it. The miracle happens in the moment you surrender, not in the moment you strive. Power shows up when you stop pushing and start trusting. When you stop trying to fix it and simply say, God, I give this to you. That's when heaven moves, because the greatest act of strength isn't fighting harder. It's finally letting go. You were never called to fight every fight. You were called to stand in faith while God does what you cannot. So don't waste your tears on people who walked away. Don't waste your peace on problems you can't control. Don't waste your breath defending what God already declared blessed. Rest in the knowing that the one who began the good work in you is faithful to complete it. You don't have to fight for what's already yours. You don't have to chase what's already chosen you. When you finally stop fighting the wrong battles, you'll find the strength to win the right ones. You'll find peace returning to your heart, clarity returning to your mind, and joy returning to your soul. You'll realize that what you thought was falling apart was really falling into place. You'll see that surrender isn't losing. It's aligning. It's the moment heaven steps in to handle what your hands never could. So let go of what's not yours. Step out of the ring. Drop the sword. Walk away from the noise, because when you stop fighting battles that aren't yours, you make room for God to win the ones that truly are. And he never fails. Your worry doesn't speed up his plan. No matter how long you pace the floor, no matter how many sleepless nights you spend wondering when things will change, worry will never move God faster. Worry doesn't open doors, it drains your strength. Worry doesn't build faith, it weakens it. You can't rush a divine process with human anxiety. You can't force timing that was written by eternity. You may think that your constant overthinking shows how much you care, but all it really shows is how much you struggle to trust, because faith and worry cannot live in the same room. One will always push the other out. We spend so much of our lives trying to hurry what only God can prepare. Tell ourselves that if we stress enough, maybe something will happen. If we worry enough, maybe the answer will come. But God doesn't respond to panic. He responds to peace. He moves when you rest in his timing, not when you fight against it. The more you worry, the longer it seems to take, because worry is like noise in the spirit. It drowns out the still, steady voice that's guiding you. Sometimes God is not delaying. Sometimes you're too distracted by your own anxiety to hear that he's already working. When you worry, you take the posture of someone who believes they are alone. You start to act as if God forgot your name, as if he misplaced your blessing, if he lost track of time. But he hasn't. He knows exactly what you need and when you need it. The timing that frustrates you is the same timing that protects you. There are things you're asking for right now that you're not ready to receive yet. And if he gave them too soon, they would break you instead of bless you. Worry wants it now. Wisdom waits for it when it's ready. God's plan is not slow. It's strategic. He's not late. He's aligning. Think about it. Every great thing that was ever born took time. A seed doesn't grow overnight. A child isn't formed in a day. Even the sunrise has its moment before the light appears. Yet we expect God to do in an instant what he's shaping for eternity. We rush, we panic, we question, and then we wonder why peace feels so far away. Peace can't live in a heart that's constantly racing ahead of God. You cannot trust him and rush him at the same time. If you really believe he knows what's best, then you must also believe he knows when it's best. Worry tries to convince you that something is wrong with the waiting. But waiting is not wasted time. It's preparation time. It's in the waiting that God shapes your patience, your strength, and your character. Because if you get what you want without being prepared for it, you'll lose it. He's not holding it back from you. He's holding it before you until you're ready to handle it. Care enough. So while you're worrying about how long it's taking, God is busy building what you'll need once you receive it. Your worry also reveals what you fear about God's nature. Do you really believe he's good? Do you really trust that he's faithful? Because if you did challenge you to love enough and care enough, you wouldn't need to panic when the answer hasn't come yet. You'd rest knowing that even if it's not happening the way you pictured it, it's still happening exactly the way it's meant to. Faith doesn't mean you understand every delay. Faith means you choose to believe that the delay has purpose. Every closed door, every silent night, every unanswered prayer, it's all part of the shaping. God's silence is not his absence. His delay is not his denial. The more you worry, the more you try to take control, and the more you take control, the more anxious you become. It's a cycle that drains you from the inside out. But when you learn to let go, when you whisper to your heart, he's got this, you'll find the peace that worry has been stealing. You'll find the calm that comes from knowing the plan is already handled. Worry feeds fear, trust feeds strength. Imagine the freedom you'd feel if you stopped trying to fix the timing. Imagine how much lighter your heart would be if you believed that God is never late. Because the truth is, every time you thought you were delayed, you were actually being developed. Every time you thought he forgot you, he was preparing you. Every detour had a lesson. Every delay had a reason. When you stop rushing him, you start seeing the purpose in the pauses. You start realizing that if he allowed you to wait, it's because he was working something deeper in you. Worry makes you think you're helping, but it only keeps you stuck. It doesn't solve tomorrow. It just robs today. It clouds your mind. It blurs your faith. It makes you question the very thing that's meant to anchor you. God doesn't need your fear to finish his plan. He just needs your trust. He needs your stillness. He needs your willingness to believe that even when you can't trace his hand, you can trust his heart. So the next time worry creeps in and tries to whisper, it's taking too long, remind yourself, his timing is perfect. He's never been a second late in your life. Every miracle you've ever seen showed up right on time. You thought it was the end, but it was the beginning. You thought he wasn't listening. He was orchestrating something far greater than what you prayed for. Let your heart rest in that truth. Stop pacing, stop questioning, stop trying to figure it all out. Take your hands off the clock and give it back to the one who made time itself, because your worry doesn't speed up his plan. It only slows down your peace. The moment you stop rushing and start trusting, the very moment you release control, you'll feel the weight lift. You'll realize that what was stressing you was never meant to be your burden. The plan is unfolding exactly as it should, and all God ever asked from you is to believe that he knows what he's doing, and he does. Always. Let go of the outcome. That's one of the hardest things you'll ever learn to do, because we're all wired to want to know how things will turn out. Crave certainty, we crave control, we crave answers. We want to know when, how, and why. We want to see the ending before we trust the journey. Faith doesn't work like that. Faith doesn't give you a blueprint, it gives you a promise. And you have to decide whether you'll keep walking even when the path is hidden. Letting go of the outcome doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop trying to play God with your expectations. It means you stop tying your peace to results and start tying it to trust. So many of us live in constant tension because we've already written the script for how life should unfold. We tell ourselves, if it doesn't happen this way, then it won't be right. We think that our plan is the only plan that can bring us happiness. But what if the detour is the real path? What if the delay is actually divine direction? What if the thing you're fighting to keep is the very thing standing between you and peace? You see, when you cling too tightly to an outcome, you start worshiping the result instead of trusting the process. And when the result doesn't happen the way you pictured it, you start to doubt God instead of realizing He's redirecting you. Letting go of the outcome means you understand that your responsibility is obedience, not outcome. Your job is to take the step, not to control where it leads. You plant the seed, He determines the harvest. You give your best, He decides the rest. You don't have to carry the weight of how it all works out. You just have to do what's right and let Him handle what's beyond your reach. When you stop trying to control outcomes, you'll start to notice peace returning to your spirit. You'll stop feeling anxious every time something doesn't go according to plan, because you'll realize that even the plan you didn't choose can still lead you to purpose. Think about all the moments in your life where something didn't go the way you expected. You thought that relationship was forever, but it ended. You thought that opportunity was the breakthrough, but it fell apart. You thought that dream was dead, but years later, you found something even better. At the time, it hurt. At the time, you didn't understand. But now, looking back, you can see how it all connected. That's what happens when you let go of the outcome. You start to see the wisdom that was always working behind the scenes. What broke you then built you now. Disappointed you then prepared you now. What confused you then guided you now. We struggle so much with letting go because we fear that if we don't control the ending, it won't be good. But the truth is, you can't ruin God's plan by releasing it. You can only ruin your peace by trying to control it. You have to learn to live in a posture of surrender. Not a weak surrender, but a strong one, the kind that says, even if it doesn't happen my way, I still believe there's a greater way. That's maturity. That's trust. That's where real faith begins. Because faith isn't believing God will do it your way. It's believing He'll do it His way and still make it good. You can't hold the pen and expect God to write the story. You can't keep your hand on the wheel and ask Him to drive. The moment you truly let go, you give Him permission to surprise you. You open yourself to possibilities far beyond what your limited view could imagine. Because when you're obsessed with the outcome, your vision becomes narrow. You only look in one direction, one possibility, one version of success. But when you release control, your heart opens to divine creativity. Suddenly, what you thought was loss becomes liberation. What you thought was over becomes opportunity. What you thought was rejection becomes redirection. Letting go of the outcome means you stop asking, why didn't this happen? And start saying, show me what you're doing in this. It means that instead of demanding answers, you start expecting lessons. It means you no longer measure God's faithfulness by how closely He sticks to your plan. You measure it by how He never lets go of your hand. You stop panicking over how things look right now and start resting in the truth that the story isn't finished yet. Because if it's not good, then it's not done. Sometimes God will take you through confusion just to lead you to clarity. He'll allow disappointment to teach you discernment. He'll close one door so you'll finally walk through the one He opened. And every time you try to hold on to what He's trying to move, you end up prolonging your own pain. Letting go of the outcome doesn't mean you stop believing. It means you start believing in a deeper way. It's saying, I trust you, even if it looks nothing like what I prayed for. It's saying, I'll keep walking, even if I can't see the destination. There's freedom in surrender. There's power in release. When you stop demanding to know the outcome, finally have space to breathe again. You'll stop carrying the heavy burden of trying to figure out what only God can reveal in time. You'll learn to live in the moment, to appreciate the process, to embrace the uncertainty, knowing that even chaos is under His control. Because peace doesn't come from predicting the future, it comes from trusting the one who already knows it. So let go. Go of the fear that things won't work out. Let go of the obsession with knowing every answer. Let go of the need to understand every twist and turn. Go of your plan and make room for His. Because the outcome you're holding so tightly to might be too small compared to what He's preparing. The moment you release control, you'll realize that God's version of your story was always better than yours. You'll stop fearing what's next and start trusting who's guiding you. Letting go of the outcome doesn't mean you're giving up. It means you're giving in to peace. You're saying, God, I don't need to know how this ends. I just need to know you're in it. And that's enough. Because when you truly let go, you'll find that what you were trying so hard to control was never meant to be controlled. It was meant to be trusted. And once you trust Him fully, you'll see that every ending you feared was just the beginning of something far greater than you could have planned. Rest is an act of faith. It sounds simple, but it's one of the hardest things you'll ever do. Because rest isn't just the absence of movement. It's the presence of trust. It's saying, I believe that even while I'm still, God is still working. And for most of us, that's not easy. We've been taught that if we're not fighting, if we're not fixing, if we're not busy, then nothing's happening. We equate silence with stagnation. We think that if we stop pushing, everything will fall apart. But rest is not giving up. Rest is handing it over. It's saying, I've done my part, and now I trust God to do His. Some of you haven't rested in years. Not truly. You lie down at night, but your mind is racing. You're replaying conversations, reliving mistakes, reimagining outcomes. You're not resting, you're rehearsing your worry. You wake up tired because even your sleep is filled with anxiety. But the kind of rest I'm talking about isn't just physical, it's spiritual. Kind of peace that allows you to sit in uncertainty and still feel secure. It's the calm that comes from knowing you don't have to carry the world on your shoulders because the one who made it never asked you to. When you choose to rest, you're making a declaration of faith. You're saying, I believe God can do more with my surrender than I can do with my struggle. That's what rest really is, an act of trust. It's a refusal to let fear dictate your pace. It's a decision to believe that time is not slipping away. It's being managed by divine hands. You can't force what's meant to flow. You can't rush what's meant to ripen. Rest means believing that what's for you will come when it's ready, not when you panic. So many people spend their whole lives trying to control outcomes, and they never realize how exhausting that is. When you carry everything on your own back, you forget how to breathe. You forget how to live. You start believing that if you're not constantly doing, you're failing. But rest doesn't mean inactivity. It means intentional peace. It means you work when you're meant to, and you stop when you've done enough. It's knowing when to put your hands down so God can lift His up. Because there are things your effort can't accomplish. Only your surrender can. Sometimes God will make you lie down. He'll shut doors you can't reopen. He'll pause opportunities you thought were urgent, not because He's punishing you, but because He's punishing you, but because He's protecting you from burnout. He knows that rest restores what worry drains. He knows that stillness is where you hear His voice the clearest. He knows that until you stop trying to control the storm, you'll never realize He's been in the boat the whole time. Rest isn't just about slowing down. It's about aligning your soul back with His rhythm. Rest takes courage. It takes courage to say, I'm not going to worry about tomorrow. It takes faith to say, I'm going to trust that what's meant for me won't miss me. Because everything in your human nature wants to fix, wants to do, wants to control. Faith doesn't live in control. It lives in surrender. Rest says, even if I can't see it, I know it's working. It says, even if I don't have all the answers, I know who does. When you rest, you're not being lazy. You're being loyal to your belief that God is faithful even when you're still. There's a story in your life being written right now that doesn't need your panic. It needs your peace. God can do in one moment of His will what you've been trying to force for years. But He won't move when your hands are in the way. You have to step back. You have to breathe. You have to trust that His plan is moving even when you don't see motion. That's real faith, to rest when everything in you wants to rush. You can't hear direction in the middle of noise. You can't find clarity while you're running on empty. Rest is where revelation happens. It's where perspective clears. It's where your heart softens enough to see, maybe, just maybe, everything you were anxious about was already handled. When you rest, you let God reorder what chaos disordered. You give Him space to whisper, I've got this. Rest doesn't mean life will stop challenging you. Doesn't mean you won't feel pressure or pain. It means that in the middle of it all, you've learned to breathe again. It means that instead of panicking when things slow down, you learn to see that pause as preparation. It's in the quiet moments that the most powerful changes are happening. Seeds don't grow while you're staring at them. They grow in silence, buried, unseen. Your breakthrough is the same way. It's forming beneath the surface where worry can't reach it. When you rest, you declare that your trust is stronger than your tension. You refuse to let fear dictate your future. You stop trying to prove your worth through your effort. Because you are not valuable because you work hard. You're valuable because He called you His. Your worth isn't measured by productivity. It's measured by peace. Rest reminds you of that truth. It's a reset for your soul. If you've been restless lately, maybe it's not because nothing's happening. Maybe it's because you won't let yourself be still long enough to see what's happening. You're too busy trying to fix what's already being handled. You're too focused on what's next to notice that what's now is sacred too. Rest invites you back to the present moment. It teaches you to say, God, I trust that you're doing something even in the silence. And when you truly believe that the noise in your mind begins to fade, the weight on your heart begins to lift. So take a breath, slow down. The world won't fall apart because you stop to rest. The plan won't fail because you pause to trust. You're not losing time, you're gaining perspective. Rest is not a weakness, it's worship. It's the posture of someone who believes that God doesn't need your exhaustion to work miracles. It's the strength to stop striving and start believing. When you finally rest in that truth, you'll find peace rising where panic used to live. You'll feel your spirit lighten. You'll remember that while you were worried, God was working, and He still is. Delay doesn't mean denial. That's a truth you have to let sink deep into your heart, because in the moments of waiting, it's easy to feel like God forgot you. It's easy to think that because it hasn't happened yet, it's never going to happen. Just because something hasn't shown up in your timeline doesn't mean it's not still on schedule in God's. The delay is not a punishment. The delay is preparation. It's not rejection, it's redirection. When God makes you wait, He's not taking something from you. He's shaping something inside you. The waiting season isn't meant to break you. It's meant to build you into someone who can handle what you've been praying for. So often we equate silence with absence. We think that if we don't hear anything, nothing is happening. Silence is not the sound of God doing nothing. It's the sound of Him working quietly behind the scenes. You might not see the pieces moving, but that doesn't mean they're not moving. He's aligning things you can't see, preparing hearts you don't know, opening doors that haven't even been built yet. The delay is not a dead end. It's a divine pause to make sure that when the moment arrives, you're ready to receive it. Because sometimes the greatest danger is not getting what you asked for, but in getting it before you're ready for it. We live in a world that glorifies speed. Everything has to happen now. Instant success, instant results, instant answers. The kingdom doesn't operate on your clock. It operates on your calling. What's divine takes time. Seeds take time to grow. Mountains take time to move. Even miracles take time to manifest. You may not like it, but the wait is where your faith grows roots. The wait is where your dependence deepens. The wait is where your heart learns to trust beyond understanding. You may not see progress, but you're being refined. You may not see change. You're being strengthened. Because waiting is not wasted time when it's spent trusting God. There's something sacred about delay. It exposes what you truly believe. Anyone can have faith when everything's happening fast, but it takes real trust to keep believing when nothing seems to move. It's easy to shout in seasons of victory, but can you still whisper praise in seasons of silence? That's where faith becomes mature. That's where trust grows real roots, when it's not rewarded right away, but you hold on anyway. Delay forces you to confront your motives. Are you following God for what He gives, or are you following Him because you trust His plan even when it's unclear? You might be praying for something right now that hasn't come to pass yet, and you're starting to wonder if maybe God said no. But let me tell you, not yet is not the same as no. Sometimes He delays the answer because the timing of the blessing matters just as much as the blessing itself. If He gave it to you too soon, it would feel like a burden instead of a gift. You'd mishandle what He meant to multiply. That's why He waits until the right season. Because when God blesses you, He doesn't just want you to receive it, He wants you to sustain it. Think about a fruit tree. You can't force it to bear fruit before its time. If you pick it too early, it's bitter. If you pull it before it's ready, it's ruined. The tree isn't denied its fruit. It's just delayed until it matures. The same is true with your promise. You're not being punished, you're being prepared. God is not ignoring your prayers. He's ensuring your readiness. He knows that your character has to catch up to your calling. He knows that what you want must first align with what He wills. And until then, the delay is your protection. Delay also teaches you to let go of control. It humbles you. It makes you realize that you can't force divine timing with human impatience. You can't manipulate the process of growth. You can't schedule a miracle. The more you try to rush it, the more frustrated you'll become. But the moment you surrender and say, God, whenever you're ready, I'm ready, something shifts inside you. Peace begins to replace panic. Contentment begins to replace complaint. You start seeing the delay not as a problem, but as a process. Every person used mightily by God went through seasons of delay. Joseph waited in a prison before he sat in a palace. Moses wandered in a desert before he delivered his people. David was anointed as king long before he wore the crown. Every delay had purpose. It refined them. It humbled them. It built endurance in them. You can't pray for greatness and then get upset when God sends you through a process that shapes it. The delay is not the end of your dream. It's the proof that your dream is worth maturing for. Sometimes the delay is not about time. It's about transformation. God's not just preparing the blessing for you. He's preparing you for the blessing. He's teaching you patience. He's developing your trust. He's strengthening your faith so that when you finally receive what you've been waiting for, you'll recognize it was Him all along. Because if He gave it to you too soon, you might think you earned it. But when it comes after the wait, you'll know without a doubt it was grace. So if you're in a season where it feels like nothing's moving, don't lose hope. Just because you haven't seen it yet doesn't mean it's not coming. Just because it's taken longer than you thought doesn't mean it's been forgotten. The delay is not denial. It's the pause that ensures the promise arrives on time. When it finally happens, you'll look back and understand why you had to wait. You'll realize that every moment of silence, every season of stillness, every unanswered prayer was shaping something inside you that the blessing could never give. Trust that what's delayed is not denied. It's simply developing. God is not late. He's precise. He's intentional. He's orchestrating things in a way that will make sense one day, even if it doesn't make sense right now. So don't lose faith in the wait. Rest in the assurance that when it's your time, nothing can stop it. The delay is only the setup for divine timing. When that timing arrives, it'll be worth every second you waited. When people walk away from you, let them go. Stop chasing what God Himself is trying to remove from your path. There are moments in life when people you love, people you trusted, people you thought would walk with you forever, suddenly decide to leave. It feels like a betrayal, like an ache that sits deep in your chest. You question yourself, wondering what you did wrong, what you could have said differently, what you could have done to make them stay. But the truth is, God allows people to walk out of your life. He's not punishing you. He's protecting you. You may not understand it now, but one day you'll look back and realize that their departure was the best thing that ever happened to you. Everyone who starts the journey with you is meant to finish it. Some people are seasonal. They're assigned to teach you something, to shape a part of your growth, to help you through a certain chapter. But they're not meant to stay for the whole story. When their season is over, forcing them to remain only creates pain. You can't drag someone into your next level who was only equipped to be part of your last one. It doesn't mean they're bad people. It simply means their purpose in your life has been fulfilled. Just as leaves fall when their time is done, people fall away when their role in your growth is complete. Sometimes the hardest part of obedience is not letting go of things, but letting go of people. Because your heart remembers the laughter, the moments, the promises. You thought they'd be there forever. Forever wasn't part of the plan, just for a while. And it hurts because you care, but that pain is not the end of your story. It's the beginning of your freedom. When people walk away, don't chase closure. Closure doesn't come from them. It comes from peace, kind of peace that says, I may not understand it, but I trust God's hand in it. Because if someone can walk away from you easily, that means their purpose in your life has already expired. You can't receive new blessings while holding on to what's no longer meant for you. Sometimes God has to subtract before He multiplies. He has to remove what no longer fits the future He's preparing for you. You can't climb higher while carrying people who have no desire to grow with you. Some people are tied to your history, not your destiny. And as long as you keep holding on to what's behind you, you'll never have the strength to reach what's ahead. It's not rejection. It's redirection. It's God saying, you don't need this anymore. I have something better. Letting go isn't about bitterness. It's about alignment. When you try to hold on to people who no longer align with your growth, your spirit becomes restless. You lose peace. You start compromising your values just to maintain their presence. But peace is too expensive to trade for company. Don't shrink yourself to keep people who aren't willing to grow beside you. If they can leave, let them. If they can't celebrate you, release them. If they no longer understand your journey, it's okay. You're not meant to explain your evolution to everyone who once knew your old version. There are people who were never meant to understand your purpose because their assignment in your life wasn't to build you, but to reveal you. They came to show you who you are when you're broken, to teach you resilience, to expose what needs healing. That's their role. And when that's done, they move on. You can't hate them for completing their purpose. You just thank God for the lesson and move forward with wisdom. Because every goodbye carries a seed of growth if you choose to see it that way. Some of you are still trying to resurrect relationships that God already buried. You're praying for people to come back who were never meant to stay. You're trying to hold on to friendships that ended because the connection was no longer healthy. How can you move into your future if you keep reopening old doors? Sometimes God closes those doors for your protection, not your punishment. He heard conversations you didn't hear. He saw actions behind your back you didn't see. He knows things you don't know. That's why He removed them. Don't reopen what He shut. It's hard to see it when you're in the middle of it. But every person who leaves makes space for something greater. When one chapter closes, another one begins. When someone walks out, doesn't mean you've lost. It means you're being positioned for the right people to enter. The kind of people who will not just be impressed by your light, but will help you protect it. The kind who will pray for you when you can't pray for yourself, who will remind you of your worth when you forget it. You can't find them while clinging to those who only tolerated you. When people walk away, curse the exit. Bless it, bless them. Because forgiveness frees you faster than bitterness ever will. The moment you release the anger, the disappointment, the pain, you make room for peace. You make room for joy. You make room for divine connections that will take you further than you ever imagined. Don't let their departure harden your heart. Let it strengthen your discernment. Learn the lesson, but keep your heart open. And remember this, what's meant for you can't leave you. If it's truly yours, whether it's a person, a purpose, or an opportunity, it will remain no matter what. Walks away, it wasn't yours. Stop trying to resuscitate what God has already removed. Every time someone walks away, it's not the end, it's an elevation. God is pruning your life, cutting off what doesn't serve your next season. It might feel like loss. It's really preparation. So don't chase people. Don't beg them to stay. Don't mourn too long over who left. Wipe your tears, straighten your crown, keep walking. What's ahead of you is greater than what's behind you. The pain of letting go is only temporary, but the peace that follows is eternal. They can leave. They were never meant to be part of your destiny. Let them go and trust that what's coming will honor you in ways that what left never could. Peace is not found in the absence of storms. It's found in the presence of God within the storm. Life will never be free of chaos. You can't stop the winds from blowing, the waves from crashing, or the unexpected moments from shaking your foundation. You can decide where your heart will rest in the middle of it all. True peace is not about everything around you being calm. It's about you being calm even when everything around you is falling apart. Because when your peace depends on your circumstances, you'll always live as a prisoner to what happens. But when your peace depends on God, no situation can steal it from you. You see, there are two kinds of storms in life. The ones that rage on the outside and the ones that rage within. Sometimes it's not the thunder around you that wears you down. It's the noise inside your own head, the anxiety, the fear, the worry, what ifs that never stop. But peace isn't the silence of noise. It's the quiet confidence that no matter what happens, you are held. It's that unshakable assurance that you are not alone, that even when the storm is bigger than you, it's still smaller than your God. That's why peace is powerful. It's not passive, it's a position. It's standing still when everything in you wants to run. It's believing even when you don't understand. Many people chase peace in places it can't be found. They look for it in money, in success, in relationships, in approval, thinking that if they just get one more thing, one more breakthrough, one more yes, then they'll finally feel okay. But peace doesn't come from getting everything you want. It comes from knowing that even if you don't get it, you'll still be all right. It's not something you achieve. It's something you receive when you trust the one who's in control. When you stop trying to fix everything and start resting in the one who already has a plan for everything. Sometimes peace means letting go of the need to understand. Because understanding doesn't always bring comfort, but trust always brings peace. You may not understand why things happened the way they did, why doors closed, why people changed, why plans fell apart, but peace doesn't need an explanation. Peace comes when you can say, God, I don't know what you're doing, but I know you're good. I can't see it right now. I believe it's working for my good. That kind of surrender creates space for peace to live. It's the moment you stop fighting the storm and start trusting the one who controls it. Even in the scriptures, the disciples were panicking in the boat as the storm raged around them. Jesus was asleep. He wasn't asleep because he didn't care. He was asleep because he was at peace. The storm didn't bother him because he knew it couldn't sink him. That same peace is available to you. It's the peace that lets you rest even when everything's uncertain. It's the peace that lets you smile when others would break down. The peace that whispers, you're safe, even when you don't see how. Peace is not pretending everything's fine. It's knowing that even when things aren't fine, you're still held by something greater. It's not the absence of pain or trouble, but the presence of strength. You can walk through fire and still not burn, walk through floods and still not drown, not because you're strong, but because you're anchored. The problem is, too many people try to build peace on unstable foundations. Build it on temporary things, people, careers, circumstances, but anything that can change can also shake your peace. Real peace is built on what never changes, God's promise, His love, His purpose for you. When you carry peace, you carry power. Because peace confuses the enemy. He expects you to panic, to lose control, to crumble when life hits hard. But when you stay calm, when you still believe, when you still have joy in chaos, you're sending a message that you know something the world doesn't. You're saying, this storm can't take me down because it didn't raise me up. Your peace becomes your weapon. It's your way of saying, I refuse to let this situation control me. I refuse to let fear have the final say. That's the kind of peace that transforms not just your mood, but your entire life. Sometimes peace requires boundaries. You can't keep your peace if you keep entertaining what disturbs it. There are conversations you shouldn't have, places you shouldn't go, people you shouldn't keep close, because not everyone brings peace with them. Some people carry chaos, and every time you let them in, you're giving them permission to disrupt your spirit. Protect your peace like it's sacred. Because it is. It's not selfish to protect your peace. It's wise. Peace is the garden where your faith grows. Without it, you lose clarity, you lose focus, and you lose joy. You also have to learn to silence your mind to protect your peace. Sometimes it's not other people disturbing you, it's your own thoughts. You keep replaying what went wrong, what they said, what could happen next. Peace requires stillness. It requires you to step away from the noise and say, be still, my soul. It's not denial. It's discipline. It's choosing not to let fear dictate the narrative. You can't stop the thoughts from coming, but you can choose which ones you entertain. Don't feed your fear with attention. Feed your faith with truth. And when life feels too heavy, when everything around you seems out of control, remember that peace doesn't come from solving everything. It comes from surrendering everything. You find peace the moment you stop trying to carry it all and say, God, I give this to you. That's where the burden lifts. That's where the chaos loses its power. Because peace isn't found in control. It's found in trust. So, no matter what storm you're facing right now, don't let it steal your peace. You might not be able to calm the waves, but you can calm your heart. You might not understand the plan. You can trust the purpose. The winds may roar, the rain may pour. Your peace can remain unshaken because it doesn't depend on the storm. It depends on the one who walks on water. Hold on to that peace. Guard it. Live in it. Because when you have peace in your heart, no storm in this world can take it away.